Again, remember, a youth leader does not phase out of youth ministry simply because of age. Did I say that enough? And all the veterans said, hey, right? Listen, there are more reasons than these, but let's look at these key reasons for lack of longevity in youth ministry. Number one, the loss of spiritual health. The personal loss of spiritual health in the youth leader themselves. The loss of spiritual vitality can be a reason that all ministers leave the ministry. But I believe it may be the most important reason for youth leadership because of the different kinds of stressors that fall on youth leaders. Spiritual health is so important to longevity. Listen, as you're going to see, and I talk about all of these areas here, these 5 areas, you're going to see how important spiritual health is to combat some of this stuff. Okay? The reasons why youth leaders are leaving youth ministry. Personal spiritual health. My personal spiritual health is critical to my longevity in ministry, especially youth ministry. It is much easier for a youth leader to address all of the problems in ministry when they are spiritually healthy. Understood? Spiritual formation, spiritual disciplines, prayer, reading, fasting, worship, giving, rest, total wellness, emotional, spiritual, relational, right? Wellness. All of these spiritual disciplines increase ministry effectiveness exponentially. Okay, number 2. Longevity is crushed when we don't solve problems. When youth leaders neglect problem solving, there's an avalanche of pressure that will build up and crash down on a youth leader. Parental issues, budget issues, pastoral team issues, event planning issues, even personal family issues can all become like a tsunami crashing down upon a youth leader. And when you get behind this mountain of problems, and when this tsunami crashes on you, it can be easy to move on to another opportunity, or worse yet, to simply quit. But it is when we solve problems, solve problems, that we gain confidence and longevity happens. Wins create a joyful and positive atmosphere. In youth ministry, wins do. Listen, I often ask youth leaders to write down a list of the problems they're facing. Just create that list, and maybe there's 10 issues, right, that you're facing. But then to turn that paper over and to write down a list of the solutions to those problems. If you can't come up with solutions, maybe somebody can help you, but hear me. I think it's important to get somebody around you to write down the realistic problems that you're going through, because maybe somebody else is also, that you're not alone. Listen, then to notice that there are always more solutions than there are problems. Really, there are always more solutions than problems. Okay, number 3, reason for a lack of longevity in youth ministry is a lack of currency. As a youth leader gets older, he or she may start to question themselves. Maybe they start asking questions like, am I relevant? Or can I relate to young people anymore? I'm 30 years old, said from a almost 60-year-old, right? Listen, maybe they entertain the thought of, is it time for someone younger to lead? Isn't it time to turn it over to somebody else? I get all of those thoughts. I've gone through those. But we just simply have to reinvent ourselves at every stage. It takes effort, but I simply reinvent myself every few years by looking at a certain gift that I have, or improving on or highlighting a gift for a certain amount of time. I think the longer you stay in youth ministry, you go through phases of being their brother, and then the cool uncle or aunt, right? And then the father or mother, and then the grandfather. right? Think about that. Than the grandfather or grandmother. I have found that often, the longer you stay in youth ministry, the more effect you have with your maturity. And those stages of going through being a friend to being a grandfather or grandmother are important authority stages and maturity stages, okay? Listen, to deal with the world of the adolescent, it takes maturity sometimes. And the longer you are in this, the more mature you are, and the easier it is to deal with the problems. There are always more solutions, okay? All right, anyway, number 4, losing your relationship to students. I believe this may be, one of the most common problems. Maybe this reason why I know it's similar to like remaining current, like that last one, but this is different too. The relational ethic is different. Because what I mean by this is that losing our proximity and our conversation with teenagers can shorten our burden and our passion for them. When is the last time you cried for a teenager? Listen, when youth leaders are not in the context or the setting of teenagers, it is easy to lose the love of their culture and their world, and ultimately, them. Do you miss the personal stories that make up each student? Listen, I don't want students to become a statistic, and I don't want to be sterile in my approach to teenagers. And so that relational proximity and learning their stories and talking to them, man, that just brings a wealth of compassion and love that increases your burden for them on a whole nother level, okay? Listen, the greater our relationship with teens, not just the systems and the tasks of day-to-day youth ministry, okay? You gotta love the office too, right? But the greater our relationship with teens, then we don't get bogged down by the tasks and the systems. And the greater our emotional return on the daily for our work. Your emotional return comes from that relationship with teenagers and talking to them and being and setting with them. You cannot forget the story behind every teenager. And you only get the story when you're in relationship and proximity with them and you speak to them and you talk to them. Listen, a relationship with teenagers will light a fire of passion, not just passion, but it will light a fire of a burden for them, like a burden for them. Okay, number 5, having a Superman or Superwoman, Wonder Woman mentality, thinking that you have all of the answers. I can do this alone. Okay, hear me. We need greater team development and collaboration. Teamwork. We can handle anything with the right team. I truly believe that a team approach to youth ministry creates several things that increase longevity. Teamwork. Let me give you just 3 things that teamwork in youth ministry creates, okay? Number 1, a family setting. And those family relationships that make the work, make it more joyful. Everything is easier with the right circle around you and the right people around you. Number 2, teamwork, delegation of responsibility makes the work more doable. Okay, the more team you have, the more responsibility is given and it's shared ownership. And then finally, number 3 is the diversity of the leadership team. When there's a diversity of a leadership team, it makes you more effective because you reach more students. Every kind reaches every kind. Every type reaches every type. So the more kinds and the more types you have, the more people you reach. I mean, you've heard it said, teamwork makes the dream work and many hands make light work. It is so true. So when youth leaders employ a Super Friends or a Marvel or an Avengers approach to problem solving, involving everyone in the solution, there is nothing that cannot be solved in youth ministry. Superman and Wonder Woman have a weakness, okay? But the combination of superheroes has no weakness. You get that idea? Okay, listen, I hope this has been helpful, truly helpful for you. You know where to find us, all the socials, you can listen to us on iTunes, you can watch us at YouTube, you can read us at youthology.com. And understand this, next week we're going to talk about more healthy solutions on how to create more longevity. These were reasons why youth leaders jump out of youth ministry. So next week we're going to really solve all of this and take you to the reasons why youth leaders stay longer. Okay, so man, hope this is helpful. Again, find us on the link tree and all of our socials, and be back with us again next week. Okay, because remember, youth leadership does not phase out just because of age. Okay, youth leaders do not phase out of youth ministry just because of age.